Joining us right now on the Rich Eisen Show in his now usual Friday spot. This is how we roll on this program. My colleague from the NFL Media Group, our friend Tom Pelissero. How are you, Tom? Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Hi, Rich. Hi to the fellas in the studio.
Tom, what's up, baby?
It's great. You guys
doing great.
Glad
you guys were.
We're all
Rich,
back.
they were texting me yesterday during the show asking how many casual jackets I own.
Yes.
So I'm just glad that you guys are focused on the really important things. And also, Brockman was so far on the under. He's got no future at Vegas setting lines.
So far on the under. So we were watching. We have NFL Plus on while we're watching the show, and he's up there in the 3 box with Mike and Ian, and he's wearing a casual jacket.
It's fine.
And I'm like, how many of those do you own? Because I've personally seen you wear about 7.
Well, here's the thing, Tom. Let me jump in here. You're stylish, and you wear it well. At least you're not like Rappaport, who looks like he's 8 with everything that he's wearing on this program.
I said that on the Insiders recently.
Yes.
He was wearing he claims that a Henley is not a T-shirt because it has a couple of buttons, to which I say, we said there was no T-shirt rule and you're violating on a daily basis. He looks like his mom bought his wardrobe at Target.
Yes.
Nothing against Target.
Nope.
Great store. I go there all the time.
I might be dating myself. They're called. There used to be something called Garanimals, where the top was associated with an animal and the bottom was associated with an animal, and you match the animal to the animal, and that was what you're wearing. That's what it looks like Ian Rappaport is wearing on the Insiders. But It's okay. It's okay. It's his style, and you have yours, and it's a fun show. Congratulations on it, by the way.
Thank you. We're definitely having a good time. Get a lot of material out of Ian's wardrobe and talk news, have fun. It's a good time every weekend.
And on NFL Plus and NFL Network, the Plus is from noon to 1, and then from 1 to 3 on NFL Network. Tom Pelissero here on the Rich Eisen Show at present, however. Let's jump into the Jets quarterback situation. They say they're fine with Tim Boyle going into Sunday. Walk me through what tires they kicked before coming up with they were sticking with Zach and Tim Boyle, at least for this week.
Well, I know that they've kind of spoken internally about different options. I have not gotten the sense that they've really made a big push to go bring in anybody that, fans would be like, oh my gosh, they're bringing in this quarterback. Now, there were some guys out there who know Nathaniel Hackett's offense. Brett Rippon is one of them. The Rams ended up promoting him to the 53-man roster with Stetson Bennett going on NFI. So that was one option off the list. Now, they'll take a look at Zach Wilson in the short term. He's still the guy who was the number 2 overall draft pick. He's a guy who they wanted to, they could have sold him on the cheap. They could have done what the 49ers did with Trey Lance and say, you know what, we're just going to get whatever we can get for you, move on, and, basically acknowledge that we made a mistake with the pick. No, they thought that Zach Wilson being around Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett would really give him an opportunity to take a step back, learn from somebody like Rodgers, watching him every day, work with a guy like Hackett, who is so consistently positive and energetic, and really try to turn things around. What they didn't want was Zach Wilson now suddenly is the starting quarterback in week 2. But you have a team right now that showed on Monday night. You can win with defense. They got one of the best in the league. They got weapons all over on offense. They can absolutely run the football. That's got to be the formula for the Jets moving forward here. Could they bring in another quarterback at some point? You would think they're going to get a third body in the building at least. But I think we're a ways away from any type of a drastic, okay, who can we trade for type of a situation. Let's see what Zach Wilson can do, because he doesn't have to do it all himself.
Did they kick the tires on Brady? Did they give him a call? Did they throw a YOLO call at Tom Brady? Tom?
As far as I know, there was no serious consideration of any veteran quarterback, including Tom Brady or Joe Flacco or any of the others. Now, again, they talked through all these options, but, going and getting Brady, who, I mean, Rich, you've spent a lot of time around Brady through the years and kind of seen him. Like when he was standing at the podium in Foxborough, I thought he looked so thin, he's never been a really muscular guy. Obviously, he believes in you do, resistance bands and things. You're not going out and benching 600 pounds. But he looks like he's really into retirement mode at this point. Not to say that Tom Brady couldn't walk out there today and be better than all but maybe, a handful of the quarterbacks in the league, but when he says that he's done, I get the sense that everybody's kind of, at least for now in September, taking that at face value.
And of course it's the Jets, and that's a whole different ball of wax for anybody who's a Patriot for life. I'm just trying to see here and what the Jets are thinking about, if not to get somebody who is going to be more prepared or more able to win a game that they can win than Tim Boyle, because Zach Wilson has shown no ability to have full-time 17-week availability when his availability sometimes is so inconsistent, but he does get hurt. And I think this is a very thin net that they're going into Dallas with, to be straight up honest. And then behind is New England and Kansas City and Denver and Philadelphia, which is now 2-0 despite not looking like they're firing on all cylinders. That's a real thin net for a team that has seen before, hey, they're in almost every game if you can only get 17, 20 points with no turnovers. You know, that's my 2 cents.
I think you also have to remember this is a Monday night game where Aaron Rodgers got hurt. If he gets hurt in a 1 p.m. Sunday game, you've got just that little bit more time to bring in quarterbacks who might be on the street for a workout or look to other teams' practice squads. You're kind of later in the week. Not that they couldn't have gone and gotten somebody, but you're in more of a time crunch. So I would think that next week would probably be where they'd add another quarterback. Tim Boyle's there in part because he's got a really good relationship with Aaron Rodgers, also because he knows that system from Green Bay. He's run it before with Nathaniel Hackett. I think in the macro, you bring up a great point about the schedule, Rich, which, you know, when I was sitting here in the summer and thinking, okay, Aaron Rodgers coming in and all the hype, my thinking was what the Jets are going to have to deal with here is realistically, I think that starting out 3-3, this is with Aaron Rodgers, 3-3 or maybe 4-2 would be really good based on that schedule. And yet, you know that the media is going to be going, oh, they're 3-3. What's going wrong? They need to survive this early part of the schedule. So getting that win on Monday night for the purposes of their goals was pretty big. You stole a win that there's no way anybody would have thought you lose Aaron Rodgers on the fourth play and you're beating the Bills on national TV. So find a way to get 2 or 3 more wins. Week 7 is their bye. We can recalibrate a little bit. And maybe at that point, it's, you know what? Zach Wilson's not good enough. But I can tell you this, the thinking within the building was, yeah, we can talk about, all right, who are those veterans on other rosters? And you trade for a Case Keenum or an Andy Dalton, or you sign someone off a practice squad, or you bring in Flacco, Wentz. There's nobody out there that the Jets believed would be better than what they think they can get out of Zach Wilson right now. Again, within the context of how they want to play the game, what they need from Zach Wilson. And I always, every morning, Rich, I'm always on the exercise bike and I flip around to the different networks, just kind of see what people are talking about and what the storylines are that we're making up today. And one of them that I saw yesterday was, what if Zach Wilson is great against the Cowboys? I'm sitting there going, the last thing the Jets should want is Zach Wilson to go try to be great. Just be the guy we need you to be. We all know you can roll out to your right and throw a 70-yard moonball off your back foot on the run. We don't need that. Maybe one time a game you're going to have to do that, but just get the ball to Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook and Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard. Play to your defense. It's okay to take the check down on third down and punt the football away. They've got different ways they can win. No, they're not the same team without Aaron Rodgers, but they think they can harness Zach Wilson and get enough out of him that they can still be competitive here as we move forward.
And then just to wrap this up, ESPN is announcing as you and I are talking that Aaron Rodgers is appearing on McAfee's show later on in a couple of hours from now. All we've got up to this point are 2 Instagram posts, one where he thanked everybody who's been trying to reach out to him. And then another one of him here in Southern California. So I guess he'll be, hopped up on a little bit of Vicodin when he hops on Pat's show. Thus, post-surgery, what do you think about his thought process here, Tom? What do you hearing?
I think the Instagram post was not explicit, but hinted at the idea he's going to come back. Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett have indicated something similar. Woody Johnson immediately tweeted, this is not the end of the story. They're trying to wrap their arms around Aaron Rodgers. He's a guy who turns 40 years old in December. There's a lot of things that were instructive to Aaron Rodgers through his life and his career from watching the end of Brett Favre's career. And if you remember, Rich, in 2009 with the Vikings, Favre goes on this amazing run after his year with the Jets and has them on the precipice of going to the Super Bowl and then throws the interception in New Orleans. And they had to coax him to come back in 2010. And Brett Favre, one of the most durable players in NFL history. I want to say there were 4 or 5 games that he did not finish that year. One game he got hit in the chin, was carted off, like bleeding from his chin. Another game, the final snap he ever played, Corey Wooten at frozen TCF Bank Stadium hit Favre, and he went down in full-on like chalk outline position and didn't get up. I think that Rodgers, and he's the same age. That was Favre's 40-year-old season. Rodgers is at the same age. He's talked about this not being a one-year commitment to the Jets. He wants to continue to play. That was when he was healthy. We'll see what terms he talks, about things in. I would certainly think that his heart is going to be back just as a competitor, that he's not going to want that to be the way that his career ends. If I had to guess, I would say that he plays again. But you're talking about a grueling rehab process here that he's going to have to go through. He's very, intellectual and very in tune with everything going on spiritually in his body. I don't know that we're going to get it. I hope we get a proclamation. It'd be great just to check that box. Okay, Rodgers will be back in 2024. We don't have to talk about him again. But I would think that he's going to have to go through that same process he always does. And physically, it's a lot harder to come back from any injury, much less one like this, when you're 40 and not 25.
Tom Pelissero, NFL Network insider from the Insiders on NFL Network here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's turn some pages here. Travis Kelce, his readiness for Sunday, based on what you're hearing on this Friday, is what?
He's practiced the last couple of days, albeit in limited fashion. Initially, when he first had the injury, the thinking was, once they ruled out it being something worse, this was a 1 to 2 week injury. So it didn't make a lot of sense right after, he'd had the knee drained and those things to push him back out there. He wasn't ready. But now, after 10 days from the Thursday night opener, I think he's got a decent shot. It's a matter of he's got to feel comfortable. The team's got to feel comfortable. This is not going to be something that's a long-term injury for Travis Kelce. So if not this week, which I would lean toward right now it is, we'll see what the injury report says, then I would anticipate week 3. That's when you see Travis Kelce back out there.
Okay, and then let's talk about the team that the Chiefs beat in the Super Bowl, the Eagles, who we saw on Thursday night improved to 2-0. And A.J. Brown, we're already, about 7 quarters into the season, and he and Hurts and the Eagles seem to have a heated conversation, and these things happen on sidelines. That's where Nick Sirianni said it's going to be kept in terms of what was going on. What is your interpretation of what have you heard was actually going on, and how might this inform how the Eagles move forward?
We'll see. I think some of those details will come out in the coming days here. I would say what I thought was interesting coming out of that game last night was how Brian Flores defended the Eagles. And I'm not saying that that's the blueprint, because they still gave up a bunch of points, albeit in part because the Vikings kept giving the football away. But, you saw them in a lot of occasions drop out, rush 3, drop 8, and just make them keep taking those short 4 or 5 yard passes, which to Jalen Hurts' credit, he did repeatedly in the game. He got one opportunity. Devonta Smith takes the top off the defense. It's a big play. But other than that, the Vikings were just saying, we're going to drop those linebackers out. We're going to keep Jalen Hurts from running all over us here. We're going to give you all those underneath passes, but we're not going to let you go down the field. Well, for A.J. Brown, a big part of what he does is in that intermediate deep passing game. When you're being defended like that, it makes things a little bit harder. A.J. Brown came from a place in Tennessee where he began his career where there weren't a lot of opportunities because he didn't throw the football as much. I would think that some of that evens out. A lot of it is based upon how defenses are playing them. And anytime you've got a quarterback who I know that Jalen finished well in 2021, but when they burst onto the scene and have that MVP caliber run like he did last season, defenses spend the whole offseason going, okay, what are we going to do differently here? And you got a little taste of one of the potential approaches. Not that anybody still has an answer for, the middle of that line, just pushing forward and then getting 2 yards on every 3rd and 1.
So before I let you go, Tom, I'm going to do this every Friday. Open your notebook. What do you want to talk about? What should be talked about? Give me your Tom Pelissero nugget here or concept that you're seeing out there on the gridiron, or what people are talking about. What do you got for me on that front?
I would say one thing is a lot of the conversation coming out of the Sunday night football game was about how the Giants were that bad. And I would counter that. Yes, they were bad. Let's not get that twisted. But I think that the part that gets lost a little bit is this Dallas Cowboys team might be really good. And if you talk to Mike McCarthy, he'll tell you this might be the most talented roster that he's had, certainly since the nearly undefeated days in Green Bay, which was over a decade ago. They've got everything. They've got a really good defense. You saw, again, in limited fashion, you're going to get a little more of a taste of this when they face some different defenses. But Dak Prescott, that passing game's different. It's all about, establishing rhythm now. You had more downfield passing with Kellen Moore, and you're still going to have that element. But if you watch a lot of what Dak was doing, it was 3 steps and get the football out. It was get the ball in space to the playmakers. It was find a way to get the ball to the perimeter. Not everything has to be that big play. They want to be cautious with how much they're riding Tony Pollard, but you're seeing a different Dak Prescott. Let's get him out of the rain. Let's put him against a really good defense. All the focus could be on Zach Wilson, but let's see how Dak and that Cowboys offense react when they're going up against the Jets defense this weekend. Another thing I just bring up, partly because I'm going to be at the game, is the Lions going back to Detroit. They're hosting the Seahawks this week. There is never, in my 20 years covering the NFL and longer than that, been any level of hype surrounding the Detroit Lions. And I think that they've won so many games in a row at this point, going back to the end of last season. And there's so much positivity. I think that everybody within the league is kind of waiting to see at some point, do they crack a little bit? Does Jared Goff, he hasn't thrown an interception in like 400 attempts or something like that. At some point, does Jared Goff start to show, a little bit of weakness here? But you look at them right now, they got a really good offensive coordinator in Ben Johnson. They haven't even unleashed Jahmyr Gibbs yet. You might see a little bit more of that this week. And Aaron Glenn, since they kind of made those philosophical shifts in how they were playing defense at the bye last season, they've been really good on that side of the ball. Is this an actual contender? I think that, a lot of people look at the NFC and say, outside the Eagles and the 49ers, maybe it's pretty wide open at this point. Are the Lions that caliber? They just went into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs. Let's just see for the first time in forever how they handle having hype and success, because that's a whole other challenge than just being the lowly Lions and everybody's happy if you win a couple of games.
And so then I got 2 great points. I appreciate that. I've got one last one for you. We are going to have Deion Sanders on at the top of the 3rd hour of this Friday program. We're all paying rent in his world right now. And as we're watching him succeed in Colorado and seemingly be set to go 3-0 before facing the remaining Pac-12's behemoths in USC and Oregon, not in that order. There's a conversation of how long Deion will stay in Colorado already, with the concept of an NFL team potentially being interested in him. What are you hearing? What whispers, ear-to-the-ground conversation on Prime, our friend from many years at NFL Network, are you hearing about at the NFL level right now?
Well, first of all, I put nothing past Prime at this point.
Right.
Whether he's a baseball, football, TV, coaching, like whatever he wants to do, I'm pretty convinced that he's going to be highly successful at it. I would say the one thing, and this goes back to talking to some of the Jackson State players that he had about how Deion tried to build that culture. And you look at, the number, a lot was made in the offseason of how many players left the Colorado program. A big part of what Deion has been trying to do is teach young people how to be men and teach them how to be accountable and disciplined and do things the right way. It's a little bit different when you're talking to NFL players. The challenges are different. You can't just go and take a bunch of players from another team that you like and put them on your team. Again, I'm putting nothing past Deion. I would say there would be some level of skepticism just about how his approach would work. It may be more effective. And there's plenty of coaches who are really good at the college level because of what they bring. There you have such control over the program and you're doing everything in terms of recruiting. In the NFL, there's a lot of different types of layers to it. So I'm fascinated to see how far Deion can take this at Colorado. I would have no doubt there's going to be bigger programs that are coming after Deion. But on the flip side of that, is anything bigger than Colorado right now?
No.
Is there anything Deion can't do? Is there any player in the country Deion can't get? We all have this very structural idea of college football that, hey, unless you're Alabama, unless you're Florida State, you're Miami, and you've got massive NIL money, Texas, and you can spend it, and you're the blue blood programs, you're always going to be Cincinnati. You're always just going to be right on the outside looking in. Maybe not. Maybe Colorado this year has, brings in, based on all the attention, based on the early success. Listen, it's 2 games. We'll see where things go from here. But maybe this proves you can go and make someone into a legitimate top-tier program. There's not another Deion Sanders out there, but I think that at the college level, you might see people maybe opening their eyes a little bit to other types of ideas. Maybe one of the elements, Rich, you asked me about Deion and could he go to the NFL? I would say success of Deion Sanders also makes you wonder, could we see more coaches from the NFL level who might be names or former players potentially getting college opportunities now. It's not the greatest time to go into college football because of everything that's going on in the space, but Deion proves, again, a unique case. But maybe there's something to going outside the box for these types of hires and, rejuvenating your program.
Tom, have a good episode of the Insiders today. We'll see you on NFL Game Day morning on Sunday, and always look forward to Fridays right here with you on the Rich Eisen Show. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, wait. Thanks, Rich.
You got it. Tom Pelissero here on the Rich Eisen Show, and tell Ian to match the dinosaur to the dinosaur for today's program, okay? It'll look great on him.
I'm on. He just called me. I'm going to call him back right now.
Very good. That's Tom Pelissero right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.